Are you tired of struggling to figure out what exact cards you should discard when you're playing cribbage? Well, I understand it's something I struggle with too, but there are some general cribbage discard principles that you can follow that are going to be really helpful for you in your game. So I'm going to show you some clips of some discard choices I'm making as I play this game, and hopefully it makes sense to you. We're going to clip around here and we'll get started. So I am on Cribbage Pro playing on one of my favorite formats of the game, Cribbage Pro. I'm going to go into new game, and I'm playing Brutal, the Brutal difficulty. I have it automatically set on there, so it is what it is. And I'll show you some hands when you're the dealer and the Pone, and we'll see how things go. So first hand up, I am the Pone or opponent or non-dealer. So I have to, the first rule, I should say, is to try and give yourself the most points possible. And if you're the opponent and non-dealer, you're not trying to give them points. So for me, in this hand, the most points possible is going to be this 10 Jack Queen. That's what I've got right now. I don't have any other options. It's kind of slim picking hand. So I definitely want to keep that 10 Jack Queen. So throwing away ace 3 or 7, some combination of those. So what should I throw into the opponent's crib? That's kind of tricky. All right. Here's another cribbage discard rule, especially when you're the Pone or the non-dealer. You don't want to give them anything that could help them if you can avoid it. If I were to throw the ace 3, that might give them a chance, if they have a 2, for a run. They're cards that are close to each other. Don't really love that. Okay. If I throw the 3-7, that adds up to 10. I don't really love that either. All right. Ace 7, that might be our best bet, and that's what I would do if I was playing really quick. I would think that. So let's try the 7-8s. Of course, they cut an 8, which means they're going to get another 15 in there. But what are you going to do? So now let's fast forward to the next hand. We're back, and this is my hand. I am the dealer. I like this hand a lot better. When you're the dealer, the first thing you want to consider is giving yourself the most points possible. That's a good rule of thumb that'll do you pretty well. But because it's your crib, you get to count on whatever you throw in your crib as your own points. So you can add them to your potential. So I see here I have ace 2, 3, 4. Which is going to be a run of 4. I like that because if I get an ace cut or a 2 cut or a 3 cut or a 4 cut, I've immediately got a double run plus. Other options that I might consider would be ace 2, 3, 9, which would give me, that would add up to ace 2, 3, would be 6 plus 9 is 15 and a run. So 15 for 2 and a run for 5. And I would throw the 4, 10. Okay. I could do 2, 3, 4. And I could keep the 9 in there if I wanted to. 2, 3, 4, because 2 and 4 is that. So we have the same thing. We have 5 points there. I could do 2, 3, 4 and the 10 and throw away the ace 9. So now it's basically, I'm going to keep some of this. If I keep it just as this is 4. Now, the other thing to consider when discarding is what you discard for yourself should work together well if you have the option. So if I discarded the 9 and the 10, I could be setting myself up for some good cuts. An ace wouldn't help, a 2 wouldn't help, 3 wouldn't help, 4 wouldn't help, 5 would help. Yep. 6 would help. Yep. 7 would help. Nope. 8 would help because it would give me a run of 3. 9 would help. 10 would help. Jack would help. Queen would help. Queen would not help. So there's some stuff there. They're next to each other. That's okay. If I were to throw the ace 9 and keep the 2, 3, 4, and 10, if I were to throw the ace 9, that would be potentially helpful too because they add up to 10. So that's given me some options there. If I keep the ace 2, 3, and I keep the 9, or ace 2, 3 and keep the 10, 4 and 9 and 4 and 10 aren't really, they don't synergize super well. So I don't really like that. I think I'm going to go with the 10, 9, and we'll see how it works out. Ooh, I even got nibs. Sweet. Or his heels. That's the way I learned it, but it's technically nibs as well. All right, time to fast forward to the next hand. And we're back to the Pone hand. All right, so This is a good example, and I'm not sure what the official rules would be, but there's a lot to consider, and it's just good to talk about. So what gives us the most points in our hand? 6, 7, 7, 8 is for sure the most points in our hand. We would have 15-2, 15-4, and a double run for 12. A double run is when you have a run of 3, but one of the cards is paired. So the 6, 7, 8 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a pair for 8. So that would be 12 altogether. Sweet. That's good. I like that a lot. But I would have to throw away the 5 and the 10 into their crib. So it'd be like -2. So it'd take me from 12 to basically 10. And they might throw a 5. So it's I feel really icky anytime I have to throw a 5 into my opponent's crib. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look at the other double run, 5, 6, 7, 7, which is going to give me 8. Free and clear. And these two are kind of next to each other. So that's not ideal. I could do 5, 6, 7, 8, all the hearts. This would be a flush. So this would be 15-2. 3, 4, 5, 6 for the run, and then 4 is 10, and then I'd be throwing a 7 and a 10. Let's try that. Let's try that. I hate to break up a double run, but 7 and a 10 don't synergize very well. So I think this might be one of the better ones. So we'll go for it. If you don't like it or you think there's a better one for this one, why don't you drop a comment down below and tell me what you would discard instead? Not a bad cut because it's going to give me another 15 for 2, and it's going to allow me to add another 1 point to the run. I'm okay with that. Time to play. And we're back. This one is for my crib, an interesting hand for sure. I've got ace, ace, 3, 4, jack, and queen. The first thing I see is ace, ace, 4, and keep one of the 10s. That would give me 15-2, 15-4, and a pair is 6. All right. What other options do I have? I could bet if I didn't keep, I could keep ace, 4, jack, queen, but that wouldn't be enough. If I kept the ace, ace, 3, 4 or something, I wanted to hope for that 2 cut. Yeah, that would give me a lot of points. But that's just one card out of all 13 options. So I'm feeling a little nervous about that. I think that we're going to go this way. And the reason that I'm keeping the jack over the queen is that people are more likely to keep jacks in their hand when they're the pone, because then they can get that chance for knobs if the jack matches the suit of the cut card. And so I have a better chance of pairing them if I have the ability to. But I don't, so that's fine. And then the 4, this 4 is actually going to help me a lot. So that improves my hand quite a bit. So now I've got 15-2, 15-4, 15-6, 15-8, a pair is 10, a pair is 12, and I got knobs for 13. So I'm happy. Oh, I got to play a card. Duh. Interestingly enough, I don't know if you saw that. I clicked through it kind of fast. There were 2 jacks in my crib. What? That's crazy. So if I had thrown the jack instead, I would have got 6 points there, but there's no way of knowing. No way of knowing. Usually people hold on to that. All right, Pone. All right, so I've got 2, 6, 7, 9. If it were my dealer hand, if it was my deal, if I got to keep it, I would throw these queens in the crib super fast. You might hear my dogs walking around in the background. Sorry about that. I would throw these queens away because that would give me 15-2. Add that 2 in there, 15-4, and then it gives me a chance for a run 4, and then these 2 are 6. But if I did that here, it wouldn't work out because I'd be giving my opponent 2 points, which was not what I want to do. So what I think I'm going to do instead is throw a 2 and a queen. That way I keep that chance there for the other one, which I don't get, but I'm playing defensively because I'm slightly up. So we'll see. All right, fast forward. All right, 2 hands from my crib. What do we keep? If I keep 6, 7, 8, that's giving me 5 points. If I throw these jacks in my crib, that's giving me 7 points over the whole thing. So that's a good example. I wouldn't want to necessarily throw that if I didn't have it, you know. So let's see what we got here. Back to my opponent. Now, what do we do here? Well, it's kind of tricky here. I'm definitely keeping those 3 4s, but what do I throw to my opponent's hand? I don't want to throw 8 9. because they're right next to each other. If you get a 7 cut or a 10 cut or something like that, that's really bad. It could make a big impact on the game. So I'm going to break them up. For some reason, to me, the 4 and the 9 feel better together. So I'm just going to throw it that way. Hey, that worked out. We'll make this our last one because I wanted to keep it pretty short. But we'll walk through this one. I see 5 king king. I like that. Definitely going to keep those in my hand. But since it's my crib, I'm going to throw the 8 and the 9. Why? Because they're right next to each other. And we'll see how that works out. And I cut a 10, and that works out fine for me because then my crib's going to get 3 points for the 8, 9. So we'll have to see what they threw in. All right, we're going to stop the video here because I want to keep this shorter and focus more on the discard strategy. So if I kind of go over the main things that I talked about, keep the most points possible for yourself. That's a good first rule of thumb. If you're the dealer, that means you can count the crib points as your own. If you are the pone or the non-dealer or the opponent or whatever you want to call it at the time, you want to make sure you don't give them points, okay? That's the first rule. After that, what do you want to keep and what do you want to throw? You want to keep cards next to each other together, if at all possible. That's kind of the first thing because you can always cut a run. The other thing is that you want to keep cards that kind of synergize together, that add up to 10, or if you're keeping them in your hand, ones that add up to 11, because that gives you a better chance of getting to that 31. So if you like cribbage stuff like this, I would really love it if you could subscribe. I drop some cribbage videos all the time, along with some other board game stuff, and you can always head over to my website and check that out, huddlearoundgames.com, and I encourage you to check out Cribbage Pro, which is one of my favorite apps and platforms to play cribbage on. And until next time, keep on playing.